Call this meeting to order. Everyone please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Ashley, can I have a roll call, please?
Melby,
Here.
Jurdy, here. Erickson,
Here.
Briggs,
Here.
Cavalier,
Here.
Kressel,
Here.
Klatt,
Here.
Vedbrun.
Here.
All right, this is time for the open forum. If anyone would like to address council on any issue not already on tonight's agenda, may come to the podium, state your first and last name and address, please. Okay, hearing nothing from the council chambers. Ashley?
Chad, is there anyone waiting on the phone bridge?
There's no one on the bridge. I will close it.
Thank you.
Agent logged up.
We have a presentation tonight. We've got Jim Lambert from Ag Innovation Campus. He's going to share some updates with us. Thanks for being here, Jim.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, or Mr. Mayor, excuse me. Too many other meetings that I go to and City Council. The city administrator gave me 5 minutes, and that's gonna be kind of tough, because I hardly get wound up in 5 minutes.
I said 5 to 10. 5 to 10. We can stretch
Well,
it.
I want to thank, I did pass out some information, and there's some information available to the public if anybody would like any. It's just a flyer on the Ag Innovation Campus, and also this brochure is one of the brochures we've developed for corporate development, just to give you an idea of what we're doing. And then also, we have this cool little marketing tool. It's a keychain actually, but it'll help you remember Ag Innovation Campus. If you squeeze it, a soybean pops up. We're gonna be crushing soybeans, so just kind of just kind of a fun thing. Anyway, the Ag Innovation Campus, I'm sure most of you are aware. I'll go through it just real quick. And if you have any questions, I'll stick around and be happy to answer any of the questions that you might have. Ag Innovation Campus really came about from the Minnesota Soybean Research and Promotion Council. They've been funding research for the last 30 years, and these great research projects have made it to the lab, but then there was no place for them to go to develop into pilot scale or commercial scale products. And in combination with that, the Promotion Council themselves had a project, high-oleic soybean oil. And they went to a laboratory in Texas, very expensive, had some lab-scale quantities made, took it to a major food manufacturer, and they said, we love it, now we need 3,000 gallons to do one trial. And it was kind of like, where do we do that? So it's kind of an aha moment for the Promotion Council that we really need a place where we can grow these ideas. And in combination with that, it would be nice to have a research capability. AURI is going to be joining us in this facility, teaching, training, if you will, for industrial applications. Some of the larger equipment manufacturers are looking for places to train their technicians so they can send them out in the industry. We're not interested in competing with University of Minnesota or anybody like that. We will make our facility available if they're interested in joining us. Hallelujah. That would be great. And then we'll have some real nice office spaces for commodity groups or for the clients to use to meet with investors. And I do have a drawing over here if you have, to give a better idea of what the campus might look like. Again, everything's moving. We ran into, and I'm sure some of you have heard this before, we had a great budget, a great idea in October, and by the time April hit, the cost went up 40% just due to COVID. So we're kind of retrenching. We're built, the full vision is still in play. Right now we're going to look at it, starting it in stages, a little bit smaller, take small bites rather than try to do it all at once. And in the meantime, we're out raising funds also. One of the area, we talked with Senator Smith. She was at our office in Mankato. Talked to her about some wonderful technology we have and some opportunities. And there's some, they're not called earmarks anymore, but don't remember exactly what they're called. But we made Senator Smith's cut So our request for $6 million will be going to the Senate. Federal government, we don't know how long it's going to take, but they're anticipating August, September timeframe to start working on those. So we're very excited. We do have a loan from Ag Country, which was real interesting. It's the first loan they've ever made to a nonprofit. So they're pretty excited. They're very interested in the project, really want to see us move ahead, but we're being very cautious with that as we go ahead and be very careful with taxpayer dollars also. So, the update, this week you should be seeing some earth moving equipment moving onto that property that the city sold to us. Thank you very much, we appreciate that. Working with the city of Crookston has been wonderful. We've had a lot of support, great communication going both ways, and it's been a very, very wonderful process, so thank you very much. We did put a camera out there today also. It's a time-lapse camera, takes a picture every 10 minutes. It'll be on the internet. I'll give that address to the city administrator tomorrow, and she can share it with anyone and everyone, so you can kind of see how the progress is going. We have that service up for 2 months right now, and then you can renew it anytime you want to keep it going as we keep making progress there. So that's pretty much the update. We're moving ahead. It's very exciting. We appreciate all the help and support we're getting from the community. You will see some earthwork. We are moving ahead as best we can with the resources we have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, if you have any questions, I'll be around afterwards, or I don't know what the normal procedure is, if you ask questions now or wait, but I'll be around so you can ask me anything you want. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Joe. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Steve, thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Melby? Aye. Jurdy?
Aye.
Erickson?
Aye.
Briggs?
Aye.
Cavalier?
Aye.
Kressel?
Aye.
Platt?
Aye.
Vedbretten?
Aye.
Okay, this brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Thank you, Clayton. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Delane. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Melby?
Aye.
Jurdy?
Aye.
Erickson?
Aye.
Briggs?
Aye.
Cavalier?
Aye.
Kressel?
Aye.
Platt?
Aye.
Vedbretten?
Aye.
Okay, we have a public hearing tonight. This brings us to the public hearing then. Ashley.
Item 7.01 is a public hearing on the Wellhead Protection Plan for the City of Crookston, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll open up this public hearing. Does anyone wish to address the council? If so, please come to the podium, state your first and last name and address, please. Hearing none, I'll close this.
Brandon.
Oh, I need to bring Brandon in, sorry. Hide behind the pole there.
I know.
It's like Mr. Kelly.
All right, so every 10 years, we look at and reevaluate our wellhead protection plan. For the most part, there is just measures to ensure that we have adequate drinking water and whatnot for the future. And the first portion so we received some DNR comments after our meeting on the 26th. So I was gonna address some of those recommendations and comments. So about 4 years ago, there was an irrigation well in the Mentor area that was put in, and they got their preliminary permitting, but the way the full process works is they will pump the well and So all the infrastructure's in place, and they don't get their final approval on an irrigation well until the well is pumped and proven to be sustainable. So the farmer got sick of waiting for the process to be complete, and he just started irrigating his fields with the well. So when that happened, I was contacted by the DNR. It was into 2017. We installed additional monitoring devices in our monitoring wells just to see if there was any impact on our well field. There was, I believe, 2 well interferences at the time, not to us, but to surrounding homes in the area. I believe one of them was the gentleman's mother's well. They were flowing wells, so they didn't have, the one was a flowing well, so it didn't have a pump. There's just enough groundwater pressure. So I believe the fix for that one, they just ended up putting a pump down the well. But anyways, so these comments are kind of a combination, or they are a combination of that 2-year study and recommendations to be added to our wellhead protection plan, and most of them are monitoring recommendations for that east well field. So the east well field was put in 2004. The west well field was the original well field. So those were in the early 80s that those wells were drilled. So this shows the appropriation permits. I'll just note that, so the west well field, we're allotted 440 million. We typically pump about 140 million out of that site. And the east well field, we are allotted 500 million, and we pump about 170 million out of that site. So we're well below our allotted pumping. Do I think that the well field can sustain 1 billion gallons a year? Absolutely not. But I don't foresee us ever getting there unless we have a large, even with some large industries in town at the moment, if we ever have a substantial user, we should utilize the Minnesota DNR's hydrologists and give our aquifer a good look before we commit to anything. But that being said, before we go into this, with our current pumping, I'm 100% comfortable that we have sustainable water. With later tonight, we will be doing some watering restrictions with the drought conditions, but that's more of a recommendation, and we're encouraging responsible use of water. Not that we're worried about running out of water, we're just looking for people to be responsible with it. So that's a wrap of the first 3 pages of what the DNR kind of puts out in the recommendations. So if you can skip to page 4 there, Chad, there you go. So their first recommendation and/or comment is that in the original draft of the part 2, it said that both well fields were stable or rising. With the slight decline in the west well field, they just asked us to include some monitoring steps for that area. So we added that to the part 2 plan. The DNR also recommends that the aquifer is safe. So we're going to meet with the DNR and come up with thresholds for the aquifers that if it hits a stage, we will do these restrictions. We haven't come up with a 100% set in stone plan, but we'll be meeting with the DNR in the next 2 months to do that. On page 11, my memory fails me sometimes. I had the gallons per minute off by 50 gallons. So that well, I had put in there 900 gallons per minute, and it's actually pumps at 850. Same with the next comment. Those wells are at 1,200 gallons a minute, not 1,000. So we fixed those small discrepancies. So we did have 3 irrigators listed in the western Duisma, and that is not the case anymore, so we removed those. As everybody's seen on Highway 2, the gravel fields in those well areas have been expanding over the years, so we added that to the plan to reflect. Well, it's already in there that we'll work with the gravel companies just to, because they're in a roundabout way a direct contamination source if there was something to be spilled in those pits. As you can see, the water level in them is about 6 to 8 feet below ground level there, and it's exposed after they mine it. They asked that we would notify them for any new wells drilled, which we would obviously go through all the proper permitting if we ever were to do that. And then the biggest one, and I think the most important recommendation, is that they're interested in cooperating with us on an aquifer study in 2025 of that eastern well field. So yeah, basically what that entails is we'll stick a pump down the well and we'll pump it for, I'm not sure on the exact time frame, but for a day or 2 or a week, and then you look at the statics in the area, and it helps you get a good feel for if you were to increase pumping by, we'll say, 100 million gallons a year, it would give you a good idea if it's sustainable or not. So on the 28th, this is the final piece of their recommendations. So we'll be working with incorporating conservation practices. So every 3 to 5 years, we'll be looking really close at our water losses and seeing if we can identify any places we can pick up any of those leaks or losses. We'll be implementing contingency strategy measures. So there's been big interest in cyber attacks in water plants in the last 6 months to a year. There's been some cyber breaches that have monkeyed with controls for chemicals, and it has just brought to light the necessity to make sure that you got a good firewall between all that. And then we'll add the Duisma and the Wellhead Protection Plan to the city's website at their request. And that is all I have for those comments. Any questions?
On them gravel pits out there, the water that's filling them up, is that coming from groundwater doing that, so it would affect our aquifers, or?
Yeah, they're required to have pumping permits just like we are. So if they're removing water from the pits, if they're pumping 100 million gallons out of them a year, they're required to have a permit just like we are.
Okay.
But is that runoff, or is that from the groundwater?
That's from groundwater.
So it's from the aquifer?
Correct.
Yeah.
And, the static, just for a good feel for where the water is below the ground, if we're not pumping the wells, it's within 10 feet of the ground surface. So, you know, those pits are 40, 50 feet deep and if not greater. So it's water from the aquifer, not from runoff.
How deep does, you pump for the city? How far down are they pulling from?
So the wells at the new well site are in the 120-foot range. The old well site, the west well site, there's 2 that are in the 60-foot and the other 2 are in that 120, 140 range. So the shallower wells have, they have better water, but they're not, our deeper wells are higher producers. So our deeper wells are putting out 800 gallons a minute. Our shallower wells are, one of them's only 150 and the other's like 250. So, like I said, I'm not concerned about our current situation, but we're doing our due diligence to keep an eye on it.
So right now with the drought that we're in, do you see any effects on our current aquifer at all? Is there a way to measure this year versus last year?
Yep, so we have measuring devices down every well, and I've looked at that pretty hard in the last 3 weeks just to, what's really helping us out right now is that wet spell we had a year and a half ago. So our static levels went from that 8 to 10 foot. That wet year, we were at 2 to 3 feet from the surface. Right now, we're back down to that 7, 8 feet. So at the moment, we're in about the same shape we were 4 years ago. You know, if it stayed dry like this through next summer, there's no doubt you would see an impact on.
Do we have any history on extended drought seasons, like several years, and how that's affected our aquifer?
We haven't, not to my knowledge. I could look back a little bit. So about 8 years ago, we got software that made it much easier. I can go back and I can run a report from 8 years ago, and I can get data hourly from each well that shows start stage, what the well was at, stop stage, and it's really useful. And we send that to the DNR every quarter. So we have data from, they call it tape data, where we go and we drop a steel tape down and get a measurement since '04. But I don't believe we've had a substantial drought in that period to really give us a real good feel for it.
So if it starts raining again and stuff, then we're fine again.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I feel we're in decent shape where we're at right now.
Any other questions?
Good to go. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you,
Thank you
Brandon.
much.
Yep, thanks, Brandon.
Just anyone else, and then you can close the public hearing. Just the public hearing.
All right, anybody else wish to address council? Okay, hearing none, I'll close this public hearing. Okay, this brings us to the regular agenda. Ashley.
Your Honor, item 8.01 is a resolution to approve the wellhead protection plan for the city of Crookston.
All right, do I have a motion to approve this
So
resolution?
move, Your Honor.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Tom. Discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Melby?
Aye.
Jurdy?
Aye.
Erickson?
Aye.
Briggs?
Aye.
Cavalier?
All right.
Kressel?
Aye.
Platt?
Aye.
Vedbratton?
Aye.
Item 8.02 is a resolution to approve an agreement with the University of Minnesota for the use of the Crookston Community Pool, Your Honor.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
I got Joe and
I'll second it.
Clayton, thank you. Discussion?
I just got a question on, did we ever get our check for the arena use?
I believe we did. Yes, as far as a date, I'd have to check on that, but yes, once we were able to get them executed, they needed the executed lease, which triggered the cutting of that check.
Well, that's what we heard at once, but then it was, they couldn't figure out who was gonna write the check.
Well, that may be, but I think they got it sorted out.
So, okay,
Yeah.
if we got sorted out,
Yeah, I think that one's squared up.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Vedbretten.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 8.03 is a resolution to approve a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, for the City of Crookston and the Ag Innovation Campus, Your Honor.
Okay, Ashley, would you please read this?
No, sorry. Do I have a motion?
Oh,
I'll make a motion, Your Honor.
motion
I'll
by
second.
Don, second.
I'll second that, or whatever.
What do I got here? I got Don and Steve.
So
It
Tom
don't matter.
or Steve? Whichever, Steve? Okay.
Better flip a coin.
Yeah, we'll do
That's all right.
Don Cavalier and Steve Erickson.
Okay,
Your Honor.
yes.
May I provide a few
Yes.
comments for you? Okay. Just a recap, and Mr. Lambert is still here, and then City Attorney also worked on this with us, but Ag Innovation Campus was made aware of a pretty narrow grant. It is, I think, $10 million total, and they only award grants to about 7 or 8 applicants. It's for a very narrow scope, and we have worked with them, so the city needs to be, I believe they call it a lead or a co-applicant. They need a municipality. Ag Innovation Campus, we have a memorandum of understanding that is detailing what each of our responsibilities are. The city will act more as a conduit of the funding, and really our main job is to help be a vehicle for the grant application. Ag Innovation Campus has staff that will help do the grant reports and grant monitoring. The city's not responsible for even determining if the grant funds should be dispersed. We receive it and then we're able to distribute over to Ag Innovation Campus. I'm excited that they found this. I think it's really great. It's a way for the city to help with really very little, there's no financial obligation on our end. Staff time will not, and resources will not be affected, so it is my recommendation to you that we would move forward with the memorandum of understanding, which allows them then to complete that grant application.
So it's just a basic in and out, we get it in and then.
For
it
us,
goes into
yep,
them.
yep. They would be submitting their request then right to the USDA, who will determine if they're eligible funding, and once we get it, we're able just to distribute over to Ag Innovation.
Any idea when they'll know if they get it or not?
Jim, do you know, I believe the grant deadline to submit is August 2nd. I'm not sure how long they'll take to determine awards.
The grant is due August 2nd, and the determination will be September, October timeframe, very quick turnaround.
Okay.
Okay, good.
And the amount we've requested is $750,000.
Thank you, I forgot that very important part.
I have a question for you over here. You mentioned stages. Do you have any a number of stages that you're looking at for this project?
Sorry,
The number of stages that you might have looked at for this project. How many do you know? The stages of
Jim, I think he's referring to your stages of
report.
construction.
Yeah.
How many stages for construction were you thinking about?
Excuse me. That's right.
Right? Okay.
we're hoping one, we already have one, but the stages of construction will really depend on when the financing comes available. If and when the federal dollars come in, then we'll be be able to build the rest of the unit. Right now, the portion that we're looking at in stage 1, or the first stage, is the mechanical crush and some office and research portion. To fulfill the mission. So that helps fulfill the mission. And as we have more capital become available, then we'll build a few more of the incubation bays. These are 75 by 50 foot incubation bays, which the size actually is a steel building, so you can move the walls anywhere you want, and then start working on the office space. It also really depends on which corporate clients we have come in and what they're looking for. Right now, it's pretty much an open book. If you want something, we can do it now. If you wait until after it's built, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult and more expensive. But to answer your question, we anticipate 3 stages, but we're hoping there'll only be 2.
Oh, good.
Is that,
Sure, thank you very much.
sorry, I'm sorry my
No, that's
don't hear
okay.
so well. It's hard to hear.
Any further discussion? Have roll call, please.
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy. Aye. Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel,
Aye.
Clapp,
Aye.
Ed Bratton.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Ashley,
Item 8.04 is a resolution to approve the City of Crookston water restrictions, Your Honor.
do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Thank you, Clayton. Is there a second?
So moved.
Thank you, Joe. Discussion?
In reading through this, one of the things that's mentioned is the splash pad, and I was just curious with the significance of the gallons of water that are being utilized, because I see that we have kind of brought that back a little bit, and it being such a hot summer, I just wanted to know, is it a significant amount of gallons of water that are being utilized in that space, that's become part of that?
Are those reused gallons too? They flow back in or?
I'm gonna let Mr.
They're not?
Carlson.
They
I
don't go
believe
back
it-
into
I
a-
don't believe it's
Yeah,
recycled.
because I thought that too.
That's gray water.
So the water that's being used goes into a retention pond, which we do have a pump for. I'm not sure how much it's being utilized currently, but it was brought up between a conversation I had with the park. They're going to use that water to water all of their flowering beds, and they're trying to keep trees alive right now that were planted a while ago. So as far as how much water the splash park is using, it's about 200,000 gallons a day. So we pump on average. We've been really fluctuating depending on if it looks like it's going to rain or not, but average is probably about 800,000 a day that we pump. So I'm hoping to cut that in half, and half of it because we reduce the hours, the other half just to, I have to go look at the splash park. We're gonna either reduce multiple fixtures or just shut off a few, just so it's still user-friendly, but also is conserving water with the drought conditions, so.
And that splash, do we redo the shut-off valve on that with the automatic? I know they had issues with that being stuck on and different things. Has that been replaced?
That was, we have talked to, I have had that conversation with other cities, these switches on, I know they are checking it daily and resetting it to make sure it's operating properly, but it's still, it seems like a never-ending battle.
I think it was repaired within the last couple of months, just by
Yeah.
some of our Parks and Rec staff. I don't know the extent of that repair, but I agree they're monitoring for those issues if the sensor's not functioning
There's
properly.
no foolproof,
I've looked in,
Operational
you know, I've tried, it's touchy because you have to have a safe switch too. And that's, it's kind of, I thought about if we could try almost a motion detector, like a floodlight would have on it. Everybody I talked to, the experts said that the water motion would just keep it running constantly. So our control company that helps us with our water controls is going to be in town in the next couple weeks, helping me look at other stuff. We're looking into other options. And if we can fix it, we're going to do whatever we need to fix it, so.
Is there low flow on those toys out there, or they?
I wasn't part of the design, and I guess I could look into it. I'm not sure if there's lower. The pressure is reduced at the splash park to 15 pounds. I don't know if that's their low flow fix for for the splash park, but we could look into lower flow fixtures too.
All right, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs, Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Van Bratten.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on. Ashley.
Item 8.05 is a resolution to approve the SEH consultant agreement for the Crookston Municipal Kirkwood Field Airport, Your Honor.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So move.
Thank you, Wayne. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Delane. Thank you. Discussion?
Your Honor, I just wanted to give a brief update to council and the public on the process. Myself, our finance director, Ryan Lintweed, and then Lowell Miller, our airport manager, we received 5 proposals from our request for qualifications for airport consultants. And we sat down as a group of 3, but we reviewed independently and then kind of determined independently what our top 2 choices would be. The 3 of us all selected SEH, and as most of you will remember, SEH is who we were just working with that took us through our master plan, our airport master plan and airport layout plan process. The group discussed the reasons that we felt SEH really rose to the top. They have a strong commitment for customer service and customer support. I will say we had some very good proposals. All 5 of them were excellent. We looked at things also such as what companies could provide the support directly versus which ones needed to hire some maybe sub-consultants or contract some things out. Since I've been here, SEH has really been really helpful, and they're alerting us when grants are available. They can have a proven relationship. On July 21st, we did present our recommendation to the Airport Commission, who has also approved to move that recommendation on to you as the City Council.
Thanks,
That was all.
Amy.
You're welcome.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Van Bratten.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, Ashley.
Item 8.06 is an approval of the Community Development Director job description, Your Honor.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve this?
So move, Your Honor.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Delane. Discussion?
Your Honor, if I could just talk a little bit again about the process. So when we started looking at the job description, and I really waited to devote too much time to that until the council made their final approval on the ordinance. No use in putting too much staff resources if that didn't go through. I used an Elk River, Minnesota job description as a model. They did a really nice job and had a robust job description, but also looked at what our ordinance said. We used to have a community development department here under the city. The focus of that was mainly housing, but it had some really good elements in that. And then also what the current Cheetah Executive Director job description had. It also has some things unique to us, like management of Valley Technology Park incubator program that I wanted to make sure and get in there. One thing I would like to specifically point out that both the Elk River model used and our former community development director is that that community development director would serve as the executive director to the Cheetah Board. And I think that is a really nice crossover, especially with our current setup of 7 members of the council sitting on that board. It allows that director then to determine if it's a request that needs to be brought to the city council, or if in fact it is something that needs to go before the Cheetah Board to exercise some of those EDA powers that we've talked about. Gives them some supervision over the staff with some housing, and if there's EDA programs that remain under the Cheetah budget, it allows some crossover there, and then some management of the Valley Technology Park tenant leases, how that program is managed, and then can determine whether those recommendations need to go to the Cheetah Board, then council, or straight to the city council, and it just gives them a direct tie to both of those. So that was one of the things I wanted to make sure and point out that was part of this job description.
So the reorganization would look a little different than we initially.
No, not really. It would still be a city employee, just serving as the executive director for the Cheetah Board. So still answers to the city administrator, but then just gives that tie-in. We're not really, some of the job expectations that are related to the Cheetah Board could be integrated. My desire would be to see that done between the council and the Cheetah Board, but gives them a tie to both the council and the board depending on what that request might be, or if there's some collaboration needed.
Unless I missed it, is that person supposed to be at all of our council meetings too?
The director?
Yeah.
All of our directors are asked to attend, yeah, yep.
Okay.
And then in turn, that person would need to be at the Cheetah Board meetings as well.
Okay. I didn't see it in that description, so they don't come back and say, it's not in my job description.
I will have to look at that. I intended for that to be in there, but I will take a look at
And
that.
like I said, I maybe missed it.
I will have to read through that. I'm making a note right now.
Further discussion?
So the qualifications of this person, are we looking for specific types of education that they need to have?
Yeah,
Yes, let me flip to that.
it was in the back page.
So we looked, list of knowledge, skills, and abilities that we entered, including marketing and promotion, some financing and economic development. What we asked for as far as minimum qualifications were bachelor's degree from an accredited college or university with major coursework in community development, business administration, public administration, economics, marketing, finance, or a related field. 3 years of experience in management, administration, and supervisory experience. 5 years of experience in economic development with an emphasis on marketing and public-private financing, and also allowed an equivalent combination of education and experience. We try to be careful that sometimes you will be faced with a really unique candidate, and try to allow the council that flexibility. And then preferred qualifications being a master's degree with some of those same course focuses, experience in municipal government, and certification by the National Development Council as an economic development finance professional. And those are also things, if we get a really good candidate, that we can also help to get that training and help develop that.
Thank you.
I would guess that would be proactive on trying to get, like I said, extended education if they needed something or they're close to.
Yes.
A timeframe
Yeah.
to finish it, like.
Absolutely.
Not
That's-
have to have that if they're working on that type of thing.
Absolutely, and that's why we wanted to make sure and include that combination, because those are important things to consider. If someone's almost at that threshold and finished, or almost finished, we want to allow that flexibility that that candidate can still be considered.
And I think I asked it once before, but now when I see this here and I see, all the education that they were looking for, have we come up, or when you've talked to these other areas, what their salary range is gonna somewhat look like?
Well, you can look at other areas, but we also have to really look at our own budgets.
Right.
Typically, I think it was last meeting we discussed, we're typically bringing directors in between the $70,000 and $80,000 range. If If the council wished to go higher on that one particular one, we'd need to talk about some justifications for that and then certainly consider that in a budget.
Well, personally, I don't really know, like, say, on this here, what the average is, so, I mean. you know,
Sure.
That's when you've talked to these other towns, like you say, you took it from
Well,
another.
Elk River has a much higher population
Yeah.
than we do, and I can't remember if I wrote down, I have it here, let me see if they, so their salary in Elk River population, about 24,500. They posted a range of 100,000 to 118. So if you consider the smaller community we're in, I don't think that's real far off. Certainly a little bit of flexibility there as we look at that.
Okay.
Before I recommend a director to you through an interview process, that is one of the things I look at first, is what does our budget allow? And then make that as part of the offer, but first making sure we can support that through the budget.
Okay.
Salary would kind of depend on the candidate too.
It does, and we try to, what we've been trying to do is post with a range that allows flexibility for the city, and also hopefully will attract people that may fit somewhere within that. And then we do look at qualifications, experience, those types of things to see where that person might best fit in our pay scale and what can be supported by our budget, and kind of use those things to make that determination.
Thank you, Amy. Any other discussion?
I would, as we're going forward in interviewing candidates, I think there should be some type of preference for a knowledge base of ag-based industry, just because we are highly agricultural, and as we go forward, I kind of see that kind of being where we're heading anyways, with the multiple things that are.
Added just under maybe preferred
Yeah.
qualifications, okay? Can certainly make that addition.
Any other
And
discussion?
then there's a committee, right? Is that correct? There's a
Yes.
hiring committee?
There would be a hiring committee, yes, and
Okay.
each, so with our Parks and Rec director, because that has a board with it, we did make sure we had board representation and then the city council liaison person. So I think trying to be careful what each one, bring in people that have some experience and background with that can really help go through those applicants, do those interviews, and bring the very best recommendation to the council as possible. So, yeah.
Is there any way we could add anything on the preferred qualifications of about if they're working on it, or, you know, something in that order? You know, I hate to say, you know, you have to have that, and,
On
you
the,
know, I don't know if they would read it, that, yeah, I'm working on that they could still apply type of thing.
on the minimum requirements on D, we did add in there that an equivalent combination of education and experience can be considered, so that covers those types of things, Councilmember Erickson, where if someone has some background and they're close on their degree, that there's some flexibility there to still consider that person a qualified candidate. And our HR generalist has really helped. My statements to her have been, read over these and make sure we're not boxing ourselves in too tight, that we do have flexibility. We may get some really unique applicants for this type of a job position. It covers a lot of breadth there, and we want to be able to really bring the best one forward, and that may not look like your typical four-year degree and a master's degree. It might be certification and a really strong history in economic development, so we want to leave that open where we can bring those to you if it's a combination of skills, experiences, and education.
And once we've agreed upon this and it's being posted, you said that we would do it for regionally through the League of Cities, and then also in Indeed, which is a national.
Yes, we
server.
have been posting our job openings on Indeed, and we do get some decent amount of traffic on there. Not all of them fully complete the application process, but when we do get a complete one, we pull that down. And then wanting to look at, let me read my notes here. North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, trying to start at least with our regional area and see what we get. If at that point we don't get desired candidates, and we certainly need to talk about how we can expand that.
So if this doesn't transpire the first round, I mean, I would hope that we would continue a search instead of just.
Absolutely, and we would come back to you at that point if we went out and set a closing date and really didn't find any applicants that we felt were qualified to bring forward to you as a recommendation, then we would come back and have that discussion about, are there changes we need to make to our job posting? Should we expand our area? So that's something I think council feedback would be really important at that point on what our next steps should be.
Amy, as far as minimum requirements preferred, we offer our department heads or whatever to more education or?
I don't believe we have like a specific tuition reimbursement program, but we do build into each of our budgets a training program. And I think that's gonna be important here. That's one of the things that I wanna make sure we keep in that budget. Ongoing certification and just even being a member of associations and staying up on current trends and regulations will be really important, especially for this. Our finance department is another one. You have to make sure that they have money to support those organizations and associations where you go. Sometimes it's through the league, sometimes it's specific associations where they're staying up on the trends and regulations. So we will certainly build that in to that budget.
Great, thank you. Any
You know,
further-
you talk on this about criminal background checks and that type of thing. I didn't see anything in there, though. Do we submit anybody for drug testing when we go through?
We're actually working on our policy now on that. That'll be part of just our employee handbook policy. Monica is reviewing that now.
Because usually there's one that's for your established employees, you know, the randoms. But when you're getting them into a new situation, usually they are tested. I mean, I would think, like, especially, you know, if it was gonna be something where they're gonna be driving or using some of your equipment type of thing. So I don't know.
That is the goal. Currently, I don't believe we are doing that. I was not subjected to any kind of drug testing when I was hired. Don't worry. There was no reason to worry. But it is something that we recognize as a weakness in our policies and practices, and we are actually working on that right now.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs, Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Ed Bretton.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Reports. Amy.
Thank you. Jim, thank you for being here to give your presentation tonight. And I know I've said it before, but commend Ag Innovation Campus for being good partners, working really closely with staff, providing things, keeping us in the loop. So thank you for doing that and coming tonight. I think that's all I have for today.
Thank you. We'll start way in the back with Chad. Anything?
Thank you, Your Honor. I did get an opportunity to participate in the interview panel for the Park and Rec Director, and did spend some time in patching our servers and making sure that we have good security in place this last couple of weeks.
Thank you. Paul.
Thank you, Your Honor. A few things. We have completed the background process on one candidate and are very close to making we're working through the rest of the process so that we can make a good offer or final offer to you. So that's a high point. On a not so high point, Officer Taylor Zaneta has accepted a position with the Minnesota State Patrol. So, and he has left and he has started with them already. We do still have a couple of prospects in our pool. I'm going to reopen that pool again. Not that we won't take somebody that we have, but I think it's just prudent that we open it back up again. And lastly, our Night Tea and Night is a week from tomorrow. Encourage all of you to be a part of that. Big change this year is that it's at UMC. So we're really excited about that. UMC is very excited about that. Joe will be our resident representative tonight here for UMC, And we met on campus, and Joe will be a part of that too, helping us get set up. UMC's been very excited, very receptive to this, and it's going to be on the mall there, and I think it's going to be a really nice event. Also, with COVID, the 19I committee decided to not reach out to all the businesses like we had in the past. Walmart has stepped up and is basically completely funding, I would say 98% of this year's event. So it's pretty exciting with them too. So we're in partnership with UMC and Walmart this year. And I think that's about it. Any questions on night to night or the hiring process?
Are you shorthanded then, Paul?
So the one that we are ready to or soon to make that final offer will replace Travis Halverson. So now we need to look for one for Officer Zaneta.
Okay, so is this going to be done before the start of the school year? So
no. It won't be done, the hiring process will not be done by the time school starts, and sorry I cut you off, I figure you're referring to the SRO position. Our plan right now is to have Don go back to the schools at that time when he would normally go back. We've been making having some conversations on our contingency plan, how we will handle the short staff, and that will include investigative, working some patrol and whatever else we need to do, really.
okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Paul. Chad, anything? Oh,
Nothing
sorry.
further.
Yeah, Chad just did it.
Sorry.
Ryan.
Ryan?
It'll be like Groundhog Day or something.
Yeah.
Well, what I have so far tonight would be, been working with Minnesota Deed Program. We had a meeting, support meeting to kind of go through that process and what all that involves or what I need to work on. Also with the Minnesota Investment Fund, been working with the program with that because we have a prospective person who's currently doing paperwork on that they've completed, and now Amy and I are doing our part now for reviewing that because it goes by what we recommend to them is what they oftentimes will do. And we are still continuing our audit with Brady Martz. We currently have finished up like the tax analysis statement, the tax settlements, the tax abatement calculations, and some of the other things that they've requested. But Brady Martz will still be coming into City Hall one more time, and that'll be the final sampling where they'll ask us to pull different records and things for them at that time. And then just kind of an update for our American Rescue Plan Act. Those funds have been applied for. I did do that. And right now we're still in the waiting process for that. What the league has kind of recommended to us is they go by the 2019 census. And if we use that number, we're looking at about $815,000, of which half of that would come right away. The other half would come next May in 2022. They're giving us until the first reporting would be due in October of 21. And then this is going to be a lot different than what the CARES Act spending was. The League for the American Rescue Act, they're saying that these funds are going to be primarily used for responding to the public health emergency, serving the hardest hit individuals of your community, addressing negative economic impacts, and providing access to infrastructure. So Amy and I have been kind of following that and working with our other department heads to see where best some of those dollars can be utilized and help the city with those dollars. That's all that I have.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I just want to add, once we do determine our dollar amount, that will come before you as a resolution to accept that. But the resolution calls for a dollar amount, so we're waiting on that. And then as we develop recommendations on how staff feels that can best be utilized, we'll bring that before you as well.
Yeah, that's, it's kind of, like on the CARES Act one, people put in an application for it. Is that the way this is gonna work too then?
I'm not sure. It could in part. Some of it is for infrastructure needs. So there's a neighboring community that is planning to possibly utilize some of their funding to help citizens replace lead piping that's not on the city side, but it can impact your lead levels at the city side. So that's one creative way that a neighboring community might be using that. So that could possibly be either in conjunction with your water staff knowing where those lead pipes are, or set it up as an application period. It will probably depend on what those recommendations for the uses of those funds might be. Different categories might have to be handled differently just depending on what the recommendation is. I wish I had a better answer for you, but
Yeah.
some of it's very broad.
Well, yeah, would it be like for any of the landlords around that haven't been receiving their rents or anything, so that they can maybe recoup some of that?
I don't believe that I've heard that as a particular eligible use. The league and our financial advisors at Baker Tilly have been putting on several webinars and providing information, and then we're talking to other finance professionals and administrators in other communities just to be getting some ideas. So it's all new, kind of uncharted territory here, where we will have to, and it might be a phone call where we think it's a good use and just determining if that is in fact an eligible use before we do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amy. Greg?
Thank you, Your Honor. I guess I just have a few items. Thanks for Jim Lambert. He's been a pleasure to work with the city and Ag Innovation. We did do a site review of their plans just recently, and we worked with variances and so forth in the Planning Commission previously, so that's been a good partner. But I appreciate his being here and talking to us tonight. I also have some future Planning Commission variances for a local church. I don't want to get into the details until that's published. I just did a Minnesota DLI, Department of Labor and Industry, submittal for the city's construction permits. And so far, we've approximately, I didn't look at the exact number, but it's over 170 permits with approximately $4 million worth of construction costs for the year overall. So,
Greg, is that for 2021, or is that looking back?
Nope, that's for 2021 so far.
Well, thank you.
Yep. And regarding that, I guess, again, I was just referencing there's approximately 175 permits so far this year. Residential construction is down, definitely, especially new units, but we do have one twin home that's going in, so that's good. And otherwise, it's continue on with site inspections and construction progress and overview and review what's going on at the site. So appreciate your thoughts here. Any questions?
On the residential, then, is it mostly remodeling?
Mostly remodeling, siding, decks. I mean, residential, it's very few additions.
Right.
A couple of those right now, but overall, it's a lot of money's being spent. Don't get me wrong, but it's not in new construction overall.
All right, thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Tim?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good evening, Council. Just a couple things we're working on. You'll see here that in the next about a month here, we'll be taking down the old outdoor warning siren that's outside of the Holiday Station. We'll be getting that towards the middle of the month here, or middle of August. That is our oldest siren that we have in town. That was put in 1967. We've been having some issues with it the last couple of years. So the firemen, they've been able to go there, keep it working, but this new one here it'll be a match of all the rest of them, so we will be replacing that one. I'd like to thank the park department and the street department. We took down a tree down at the main fire hall, and those guys have been very helpful in putting in some new trees for us. We can keep our place looking nice. So I just want to thank the Park and Rec Department and the Street Department for that. We're working on hiring a couple new paid-on-call firefighters. We were short a few from some moving away and retirements. So we put out applications and we brought in 7 people to interview. We had some really good candidates, and we have a board meeting on Wednesday night, and we'll determine how many to bring on. And it's really nice to see some really good community support from our people that want to continue on and being firefighters. We have a couple here in our council already here with Mr. Melby and Mr. Erickson, so it's nice. We completed our address sweep. I think I've talked about this before. Each of the firemen were assigned a ward in town, and they went and swept the whole town. We put out about 120 notices to people for various reasons, whether their numbers didn't contrast with their house, they're hidden by bushes or something, maybe not on the fronting of the property, or maybe none at all. So we put out about 120 notices, and we'll follow up on that in probably about 60 days. And just to let the people know, if they did get a notice, they can call down to the fire hall if they need a hand with whatever, if they're elderly or unable to do something, just to give us a call, and we'll be glad to give them a hand with that. We think it's very important, not just for the fire department, but for police, EMS, and anything else. That quick response, I think, is very important. We did this about 5 years ago and had very good results. We probably had about 85 to 86% comply with it, so it's been really good. Greg and I are working with a local citizen who's wants to remove a couple dilapidated houses. We gave him some homework to do, get some estimates, go talk with the county and stuff like that, and then come and see us again. And then I'll be visiting with Amy, and then maybe he'll come to council to see any kind of recommendation on any kind of assistance that we can give them. I do have a community improvement fund that we've been doing this in the past, so we'll see how this all shakes out. Greg and I inspected the properties, and they probably could disappear, and it would get rid of some of our trouble spots that the fire department has been handling. Last thing is I just need everybody to continue being safe with fires, whether it's campgrounds or what have you. We're in extreme dry conditions. We were out on a pretty good grass fire just a couple weeks ago. A guy hit a rock with a mower and started a big grass fire. We had a couple sparks come off a pole just the other night and started a grass fire. So just be careful with fires, and we try to keep those trucks in the barn until it's not so hot on my guys. All right. Any questions on anything?
Yeah, but what's your complaint as far as cars and stuff like that? Has that gone down here? It doesn't seem like we get that as much information that it's.
On junk cars or
junk cars and complaints in general?
The complaints have gone down. It's funny you say that, because the police department and the fire department are trying to get this worked out. We're dealing with the city attorney on this. The fire department used to do their sweep, and it kind of got where, not really sure how to say it, but it's kind of not in our lane of traffic that we should be doing, so it was kind of turned over to the police department on a part that we used to do. We're still following up on junk cars. Those would be ones that are missing components or not operable or whatever. If we do get a complaint on those types of vehicles, we follow up on them. And that is all complaint-based. We do not sweep on that. It could be considered selective enforcement. So that is all complaint-based right now.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tim. Any more comments, Brandon?
All right, the water department finished the cleanup of 2nd Avenue North, so that will remain gravel until next year, when half the roadway will remain gravel where the water main was replaced, until next year when the road is reconstructed. Ian Tiedemann was offered and accepted the water superintendent position, so congratulations to him. Been working with Ian for 15 plus years, he'll be a good fit. Davidson's installed the storm sewers on Grant and Stevens Drive. They started stripping Stevens Drive today, so they're well into the road reconstruction on the local projects. Zavrels and Brothers was the federal contract recipient, and they are starting this week. They subbed out the bridge rehab. The South Broadway Bridge is getting a much needed facelift. So the sidewalks will be replaced, and then the main surface of the road is getting milled down 3 inches, and it'll get a whole new cement cap. So they're gonna do 1 lane at a time, so traffic will still be able to get through there. They plan on starting that on Wednesday. And that's all I got.
Stevens Drive, what's their ETA? Actually, just had somebody call today about what is September, October?
Yeah, I believe it's the middle of September is the...
Somewhere in there.
I do not know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I would have to look at the
That's all right,
contract,
I'll
but-
talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
When you say that the subs part of it out, okay, so say if it gets done and it isn't satisfactory, is overall still
They're on the hook.
hook for it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Brandon. Start with Tom tonight.
Nothing to report tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. Delane?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. Joe?
Well, I was asked to bring this to us as a council, if you haven't heard, that the Hershey's Chocolate Company is going to be coming here for Oxcart Days. They got a hold of our community s'mores event, and they're gonna be bringing in film crews and all sorts of, there's a few things that are coming down the road that I can't mention at this point. But they asked me to ask all of us as a council to show up and be present and be there for the event. They're thinking the event's gonna be quite a bit larger than what they were expecting. So if we could all show up and if we could help in any way possible, that would be great. That they want to work with the city as much as they can. They have a lot of the city crews helping out with setups and everything else, but us making a presence as a council, they thought that'd be great to work with us, and if there's any kind of help that we can give them, if it's helping hand things out or setups or wearing our name tag and just being present, they would love that. So I decided to bring it to the council. That's it, Your Honor.
Have they got a time when they're gonna be here?
4:30 to 7 on Friday of Oxcart Days.
After 3 to 11:30.
Come get your s'mores.
And I would imagine Hershey's has not came through with what they're kind of bringing, but I'm sure they're gonna bring chocolate. And
Yep.
I've seen them on TV. They have a truck that comes into communities and it just opens right up to a s'mores event. I don't know if they're bringing that. It's still kind of up in the air. It's only about a week into what they're gonna be doing, but I think it's an absolute great thing. They were very excited about the small town, big festival idea. And they're gonna be taking pictures of our whole town, the way it sounds, from the river to what Crookston has to offer. And I don't know where it goes after that point, so I just think it's a very good thing that being nationally recognized and
How did that come about? Did we approach them or?
They called, from what I understand, they called the one of the people on the board, Libby, I think it was, and just asked about it because they had heard. Travis Oliver and his class made these wonderful tables. They're a long table with fire down the middle. You could make s'mores on either side. They made several of them. So it was just started out as just kind of a small event, kind of a community thing. It was just going to be kind of in passing, and they had heard about it and they called, and then it was explained to them a little bit deeper, and then they called back and said they'd love to come and see what Crookston's all about, and this big festival, largest festival in Minnesota, small town festival in Minnesota is what they call it. So they're gonna come here and they're very excited about it from what I understand. And they'll, like I said, be here with a film crew and doing all sorts of stuff, and I'm sure they're bringing in more. You'll be hearing more to come, that's all I can say at this point in time, but I would love to see everybody as a council be there, and if I was brought to me today, they could make up some kind of name tag of council. I said, well, we do have some, and So if, wear your name tag, come out, offer help. I'm sure, like me, I have 4 kids, they'll all be out there because it's chocolate. And so, yeah, no, it'd be great if we could see everybody there, so. That's bring it to your attention.
Exciting news. Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don?
Yeah, I think there's another, their family that's named Crookston family will be here also. This will be their second year coming to Crookston for that event, so, and they're excited about being here also. Ward 4 Board Committee held a planning committee meeting last week, and we're moving forward on setting up some small groups to look at our ward and to find out how we can improve it and so forth and so on. So you'll hear more about that in the future. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thanks, Don. Clayton?
Nothing to report, Your Honor, tonight.
Steve?
Just to hit on the crazy days, I'm glad that we hit it, and I think, there was bustling downtown. It was very busy that day, so it's good to see that people were supporting the community, and it was, lots of things going on, so it's good to see. That's all I have.
Thank you. Christie?
I too was part of the interviews for the new Director of Parks and Rec. And so hopefully we'll have some good ideas and we've made some suggestions going forward, so we'll know more soon about that.
All right, thank you. Wayne?
I don't dare not give a report. There was some influence there, that's very good. It's nice to get an update from each of the departments like that, and it does help the city. It's seeing how we're gonna be on TV and such, that they're, to show what is going on, what you guys don't just sit down and play, have donuts over there and play cards over there.
Okay, there's donuts.
Get everything figured out, so thank you, guys. Going along with that community development director job that you talked about earlier, the council, or 7 of us are on that cheetah board now, and we had our first meeting, and we met with Brian Bull. I don't know if you read it in the paper or heard it on the radio, but we granted a $100,000 loan with him with some restrictions and different things on it for a company that he's doing with Lime out at the old Simplot building. Dennis Egan was there to give us an update and talk with the folks that are now on that committee and how we're going to move forward. And things were very positive. He had some good words that day, and that was also in the paper and on the radio. So it was just nice to get that first meeting going and see that we are still going to be doing business out there, and so stay tuned for more. And those that are on the board, we're going to have a meeting to get certified. To be on with the HUD part of it, that anybody that's on that board is going to have to get a HUD certification, which I'm looking into now, and it's online, and if it's not too crazy, we'll have like a day and spend an hour, whatever, with everybody and just kind of go through it and get it, kind of. What it does is just gives you a little knowledge of what you're doing, what's expected of you, and but they do call it a certification because you have to get online and put your name on the line. So, other than that, I just was wondering if there was any update on the Park and Rec position that they could let us in on, but that's fine. And that's all I got. Doing a great job with mosquitoes too.
Amy, quick question. How many did you finalize for the interview?
For interviews, we interviewed 6.
6, okay.
Yep, 6 applicants, and we had some really nice, a nice group of applicants, a really nice group that we interviewed. Tomorrow, I believe tomorrow morning, we're going to meet as the park board, I believe on the 4th. That'll be going out tomorrow when Andrea gets back in the office to update the park board, and then plan to have that before you as a council at your next meeting on the 9th for a recommendation.
Okay, thanks. Just a couple things. It's good to see the Golden Link has the Experience American back. It took kind of a year off with the COVID. It was Cliff and Elaine Nelson that were Experience Americans last Friday. It was well attended. I've known Cliff, so it was fun to give him a little hard time, and he gave me an education on how water flows out by his place and a few other things. Didn't know he was in the city limits, so, but it was well attended. They always have great cake, can't pass that up, so. I'd also like to thank Mike from the Times back there. I hear this is his last meeting. Thank you for your many meetings and council meetings and everything in between. Your services will be missed. Thank you. There will be no Ways and Means tonight, so nothing else.
So, Your Honor, just as a plug for the Golden Link, they have started a breakfast deal now. They're having a restaurant, and it's a certified restaurant, so they're open to the public. So even though you're not that old, you can come down there and have.
And lunch.
And lunch.
And I gave the menus to Amy.
Yeah.
So.
Their meatballs are amazing.
Yeah. So any day of the week, and you don't have to call in advance anymore. They have a regular menu and some specials, so. Just a thought, so another place to go and have breakfast or lunch.
Thanks, Wayne. So, yeah, nothing else to come before council. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.